And welcome back, everyone. We'll be going over our first lecture here. We'll be going over some assignments, the code challenge, the loop-de-loop, the algo app, levels 4 through 5, and code challenge here. We're going over the operators, okay? So this isn't going to be an actual lecture. I'm just going to introduce to everyone here what the assignments are. And then we'll be going into breakout rooms to work on these assignments together. Okay, so we'll be creating the rooms here in just a moment. Okay, here we are on the platform. We need to be on this introduction to programming section here. And before we go ahead and get started, I want everyone in the chat to participate here by leaving a number from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, couldn't get any clear, and 1 is like, I didn't get any of that at all. So leave a number 1 to 10 on installing Visual Studio Code and creating a folder and creating a file. Okay, great. And I appreciate you guys' feedback. It's going to only help me better improve myself so that I can communicate better to everyone here. So everyone is able to install Visual Studio Code and create a folder inside either their desktop or some other designated folder area and open that folder, right? And is everyone, how about this? Another check. Is everyone understanding how to create a zip file from that folder and submit that zip? Okay, fantastic. So we should all be on track here. If you do feel like you're falling behind already, that's okay. We want to know. We want to figure out where you're stuck so that we can get you up to pace. Okay. Now we are going to go through this platform a little bit. And once we get started in breakout rooms, we are going to be working until lunchtime, which is 12 Mountain Time. From lunchtime, which is noon, to 1, we are going to take a lunch. But then from 1 to 2, we're going to work back on our assignments here. Okay. But from now until lunchtime, we are going to be wanting to work here on the platform. And we want to ideally finish the entire getting ready portion of the course. So let's go ahead and take a look here. So we want to have already installed Visual Studio Code, set up this file organization folder system. Let's see here. Once we get here into this section, I will go ahead and explain. So now that we're here, we're going to be going over JavaScript variables and data types. We're going to be going over these concepts. What do these mean? Okay. So let's go over some of the reading here. I'll sometimes read what the platform says exactly so that I know that you guys are getting it. And sometimes I may skip over some of this course section here. And most likely I'll always take a quiz here with you guys if I see something worth taking a quiz for, okay? So let's go ahead and go over what we mean by variables and data types here. Okay, so let me go ahead and read this to you guys. Programs can do something as simple as turning something on and off like a flashlight. So your flashlight is like a program. It has a switch, and when you click the switch, it'll turn the flashlight on or off. Okay, a flashlight has a container to it as well. It's not just a button attached to the light bulb. It has that plastic or metal outer coating, and then that glass or plastic coating that goes over the light. and then the button itself. The button is a key to the machine that is a simple machine, which is turns on light, a flashlight. So we're going to be creating functions in just a moment. But in order to create a function, we have to understand what it is. And so we'll be using some analogies like maybe a flashlight or other machines here. A microwave would be one example. But we want to understand the structure of something before we create it, because sometimes we'll know how to create a function, but we'll make a habit of forgetting some fundamental things like creating a container or creating the proper syntax that will make the function work. Okay, so programs do something as simple as turning something off and on like a flashlight, as complicated as processing a credit card payment. Regardless, many times programs require information to be passed around. For example, think about a calculator that would calculate what the tip would be on a restaurant bill. The program would need to know the total amount of the bill and the percentage you want to tip. Then it would need to know those two numbers to calculate an amount, and would have you give you, the user, a place to enter the information, the place to display the calculation back to you, and that's a lot of work. Okay, but how does this program take the bill amount to calculate it? Every time a piece of information is entered into a program, the computer needs to carve out some of its memory to hold it. We as developers get to tell the computer when to carve out space for data, a piece of data, what we call that space for a piece of data, and what it gets stored in that space. We call this process creating variables. Okay, take a peek at the variables below and see if you can find some patterns to answer the questions that follow. When you're trying to spot the pattern, it can be helpful to look at each line of code and consider the structure. What does the syntax look like? Cause and effect. What does this line of code do to the other lines of code? And similarities and differences. So let me go ahead and see if I can do something here. I want to do this. Let me see if I can do this to turn this on. I have to go search the program to make the whiteboard. I'll do that after this lecture here. But basically, what I want you guys to know is that a variable is like a box. It's like a box. Okay, when you're helping your friend move apartments or move house, you're going to put things into containers and you're going to label those containers. Okay, so a container can carry different types of items. It can carry delicate items. It can carry fragile items. It can contain invaluable items like junk. Okay, but you can use that box, you can label that box and move the contents inside the box. So you can take the fragile items and you can move it into the junk box, and that box will still be good. It will be labeled incorrectly, but you can do those things. Okay, so this is what the basic concept of what a variable does. A variable is just like a box that has a label on it. It can contain types of data, so that will be like the items in your apartment or your house that you're moving, and it will be able to move that data around, or be able to manipulate that data somehow. Okay, so for example, this first line here is var first name equals Gareth. Okay, so just think of a box let's see here if I can create the box again. Draw a box, please. I'm going to have a box here, and I'm going to label that box Gareth. And Gareth contains a string. Okay, who can tell me what a string is?
Characters.
Okay, it's a list of characters. More specifically, it's a list of characters within a quotation. Okay, so there's different types of data here. First here, we're looking at a string. The string has the value Gareth. The second one has the value O'Neill. And we have other types of data besides strings. We have numbers. Okay, so this is what this variable age equals 38. This is a number. Okay, then we have the height variable, which is imagine a box with the word height labeled on it. And it has another string in here, 5 feet 9 inches. even though there's spaces in between each of the numbers and words in here, the space is part of the string, okay? And it doesn't matter that it has a number in it. If it's within quotations, it's going to be considered a string, okay? So we are wanting to understand here what the difference between a number and a string is, and that a variable is a container that has a label that holds that piece of data that we're specifying here. Now, this line here that says console.log first name, what this means is we have an area. So the quotations indicate a string. Yes, that is yes. All quotations indicate that it is a string. So anything within the string, even if it's a number, it's a string. Good question, Justin. And so a number without quotations then is just the number type. Okay, so for now we have strings and we have numbers. And we know that we are creating a variable when we use this keyword var. Var is the box itself. The name that comes after it, a space after it, is going to be the label for the box. And in JavaScript, we have this this naming convention called camel case, which means that when there's more than one word here, for example, first name, there's two words there, first and then name. The second word is going to have the first letter capitalized, okay? So every word after the first word, the first letter of the following word is going to have a capitalization, okay? Are we all seeing the correct screen here? You guys see what I'm looking at? Okay, great. Cool. All right. Now console log first name. There is an area whenever we're building code, and I'll show you guys here on this section, this tab here. Let me clear my drawings. So here we see a bunch of code. Okay, we don't have to know what it does, but we see here sometimes it says console.log, and it's going to say these different words here within these strings, and we know they're strings because they have quotations around them. And occasionally our code is going to say console.log. So if I click run at this top right area, it's going to load. And it's going through the code as, oh, it's going to take a bit. If this is too frustrating, I have another way to demonstrate this here. Let me give this thing a chance though. Come on, Trace. By the way, if you're feeling frustrated or feel fear, the computer can sense that and it will stop working. So always be calm and be patient with your computer, and it will sometimes cooperate. Sometimes you may need to pour water over your keyboard or bang it really hard in order to get it working, but I'm not going to use that method yet. So we'll see here. Okay, here it goes. Never mind. I'll pour water on it later. So we're going to go here to the Algo app. By the way, I'm kidding. Don't ever do that in case the joke just went over your head. All right. Here we see var x equals 5, and then we see this area that says console.log x. So the console is a place where you print your work. Okay, it's not exactly the place that you will see the code run itself. Sometimes you can have a lot of code that runs and works efficiently, and it does what you want it to do. But you don't have to console log that code in order to make sure it's to see that it's running. A console is a place where you can prove that something equals something. So if I say console log x, we are going to get 5 because x equals 5. So it's just a certain area on our coding platform, whatever coding platform that we're using. In this case, I'm trying to use trace. Let me give it another shot because I thought this was going to be a really great example here. I'm a little disappointed in this. So I'm going to go from the very beginning here. Delete, 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 delete. Here we are. Okay. This area here, this terminal where it says terminal at the bottom, this will be the area that all my console logs will print. So line 16 will print starting trace JavaScript demo. It will print also tip, use your arrow keys to go back in time. You can console log all the variables that you're using. In this case, you can console log your own string, and it's not creating a variable. It's just printing in a certain area on the screen. Let's try it one more time. If everyone closes their eyes and believes really hard that it can work, it'll work. And I'll have to save it for later. Oh, here it goes. Starting trace JavaScript demo. And now this hand tip, use your arrow key. So as it's going down through this code, it's going to run this code, and then occasionally it'll hit these areas that say console.log. Here we are. Now it console logs the sum of the array is sum. Get started by writing your own code. So as it goes through this line of code, as we write these areas that have console log in them, it's going to print whatever we write in that console. In this case, on line 27, we had this variable called myArray. It was created on line 23, but from lines 24 to 26, it was modified. So it created this line, the string. We created an array and then comma. And within the same console log, because it's within the parentheses, we printed this variable name, myArray, which had the 0, 1, 2. Okay, so that's just a rough idea of how the console log works. Anytime we write something within the console log, we're going to see an output of whatever we're trying to keep track of. Okay. And here's a video you guys will need to go over on your own. We need to go over different types of data. Okay. As we already went through, there's numbers and strings. Number is what it sounds like. It's going to be a number. They can be whole numbers and decimal numbers, floating point decimals. You can perform mathematical operations with numbers. So for example, var my num equals 5, var other num equals 10. These are numbers. Okay. In the console log, I want to add my num and my other num. So the console will log 15 because that is the value of each of these variables. It doesn't actually change the value of the variables. I just want to print what it would be like to add these two variables together. So the console is going to print that, and here we get 15. There are also strings. So we already went over that. Var my string variable equals my name is Jeff. And so we're going to console log this name of the string here. We're not going to console the string itself. We're going to console log the variable's name, and that's going to show what the contents are inside this variable. My name is Jeff. So all strings are defined by what the quotation around them is. Okay. If we want to console log the name of the variable, we don't have to put that inside the console log. We don't have to put my quotations around my string variable. We just name the variable as we see it here. Okay. And an important note, you may have noticed that strings have quotes around them. Okay. If you put quotes around a number, as we stated, it will treat that number as a string. All right, so there's the difference between this var above that has a string with a number in it and this var below, example of number, which just has the number itself without any quotations. Okay, so if we wanted to calculate the age of this person, we would need the example of number, this one below, not the string. We also have, actually, before I move on, let's just get a status check, 1 to 10. How are we understanding the difference between strings and numbers? 10, 10, 10, 10. Great. Fantastic. Let's keep going. We also have a couple other values for variables, null and undefined. Okay. Null and undefined are sometimes incorrectly used interchangeably. They're not exactly the same thing. They are different. As you read above, undefined is a value that is given to a variable that has not yet explicitly been assigned to a value. So if you're reading through a list of numbers, for example, and you want to say what's that position at the past the very end of the list. If the function is asked to read something that doesn't exist, it's going to say undefined. So it's just something that doesn't have any value at all. But null is an explicitly assigned value. It is often used when wanting to explicitly state that nothing is currently being held in this variable. So you can say, for example, var null example equals null. We are explicitly saying that this null example variable is empty. Whereas undefined, if we just had something like this, var null example equals, and there's nothing after the equal sign, we didn't complete this variable name. Often this is going to break if you write it wrong like this. But if, for example, you're trying to access something like this, it's going to be undefined. Okay. And a Boolean. A Boolean is like an on and off switch. Okay. It is going to be either true or false. So var is ninja equals true, or it could be var is ninja equals false. If we console log is ninja, in this case, it's going to be true. Okay, this is going to just keep this in your memory bank. It's going to come in handy as we build more functions in code. So we're going to check to see if something is true or not, or false. It's going to be a Boolean. Okay, so we have strings, we have numbers, we have undefined, we have null, we have Booleans, and then we have commented code here. All right, if I write some code, and let me go ahead and write it here on my Visual Studio Code. If I press 2 slashes, // now this code is green, which means it's commented out. Any code that is commented out is not going to run. So for example, here, if I do // I do // oh, I have to go here. If I want this code to run again, but I don't want this to run, I'll do // here. It will be green, and as I run it, it will ignore this line entirely. We're not going to play with this again. Just believe me here. Now, moving along. It doesn't mean that code is deleted. It's just going to be ignored. Okay, so just know that. And let's go ahead and run this. So we have this function. Okay, don't have to know what export means yet, but we have a function and it's defined as main, and inside main, so we have these parentheses here. This is just the syntax. This is like a function is like the machine, right? It's like the flashlight, the outer coating of the flashlight. There's like that, the front part that's like, it's clear, and then the shell. This is the shell essentially. Okay. And in this shell, we have inside the flashlight, if we were to open it up, in this case, we're using the analogy of a flashlight, we have this variable mynum. Okay, we've defined a variable. We've said the value of it, its contents has the number 5, and another variable that says my other num has the contents of the number 10. We want to console log these two numbers together, okay, 5 and 10. So let's go ahead and run this. And as we see here, as it goes through the code, it hit that console log, and now it's added 5 plus 10. So this area here, this terminal, is just an area where all our consoles get printed. Our console logs get printed. Okay. Now here is the first challenge you guys will start to work on your own here. You will start to create variables. And so I won't explain this too much. I think you guys should read this for yourself and figure out how to do it. You'll have to create a new file. You'll have to create a JavaScript file in Visual Studio. You'll have to create some variables inside here. And in the next one here, we're gonna go to the Algo app. If you haven't explored this app, you're gonna have to do it quickly and get started here. So here's a link to the algorithm app. And you'll have to bookmark this because you'll need to get good at the algorithm challenges on this app. Bookmark this one here. If you guys don't know how to bookmark on Chrome here, it's when you're on that link, if you click that star here, that star will create like favorited links. As you see here on the very top, all these links above are like favorited links of mine that I want to check on later. So bookmark this link, the algorithm app, and get started on that. Okay. Once you complete level 1, upload a screenshot of your completion. So screenshot, if you don't know how to create it, there's different shortcuts. On my Mac, it's Shift Command and then the number 4. If I hold Shift and then I hold Command and I press number 4, it's going to give me an option to do a select cut, and that image will save on my desktop. So drag that image in to the platform here. Make sure that you have completed that. And that's going to be the first couple of assignments. So go ahead. We're going to go ahead and get started pretty soon. Once you've completed that, you're on a good track. Okay, you do want to work on ahead and do the required reading for the day. So let's go ahead and take a look at what this means exactly. So by the end of the day, if you see here on your calendar, you're going to want to complete this code challenge parameters. There's a link to it, but it's on the platform. As you work through, you'll see it eventually. And your homework for the day is going to be to read up through belt tips and strategies.
The wrong day. That looks like Wednesday. You guys scroll over.
Oh my gosh.
You got it.
I'm leading you guys astray here. Don't do that. Algo level 1 is by the end of the day. Thank you. Thank you, Evan. Was that you? Yeah. Okay. And your homework is to read up and through a tool testing your JavaScript code. Okay. So we're starting really basic stuff. Maybe some of you guys already know how to create folders and files, and this is just sort of redundant. But we want to make sure that we are covering all levels of experience, and we'll definitely increase the difficulty as we get along. If you're not challenged enough, just get through this day, get through this week even, and things are definitely going to get more challenging really fast. Okay, but we have to cover all the basics. Make sure that no one gets left behind on some of the basic stuff. So get through the readings for today. We're going to go ahead and create breakout rooms now. Ask us if you need help. We're going to create some offices that you can enter in and ask for help. Ask for help on Discord the way that we recommended. And read through the platform, the sections that I was going through, and go through those assignments. Okay. So you're going to ideally want to finish up by the time we're starting our second lecture at 2 p.m. So let's go ahead and get our breakout rooms started. If you would help me with that, Joseph. And once that's ready, we'll go ahead and let you guys choose your own breakout rooms. If you haven't figured out some of these Zoom settings already, there is a way to filter out your background. You can add some funny things to your own view of yourself. So let me stop sharing my screen here. Not that I want you to use this, but it's just a funny thing that you can, see that Zoom has these quirky features. I can put these sunglasses on myself, or I can give myself a pig face, something like that. I don't want to be a pig. I don't want to be a bunny either. I don't want anything. And actually, it'd be better if you guys don't wear these. It'll be distracting to me. But just know that Zoom has some fun features that you can work with, okay? You get to know how to mute yourself. If you don't know how to do that, there's also switching between rooms. Okay, so once the rooms are ready, let's see here.
I'm not a host, Joshua, if you need me to make those.
Yeah, I can go ahead and start creating them now if they're not ready.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to create these breakout rooms and then open them up here. 1 second, and I'll stop the recording.